Today, I am going to speak about one of the greatest and most fascinating chapters of our ancient past, the Harappan Civilization, also known as the Indus Valley Civilization. This was not just an ancient society. It was one of the world's earliest and most advanced urban cultures, flourishing more than 4,500 years ago. The story of the Harappan Civilization begins in the early 1920s, when archaeologists discovered two major cities, Harappa in 1921 and Mohenjo-Daro in 1922. What they found beneath the soil amazed the entire world. A civilization that had well-planned cities, clean streets, advanced architecture, and a lifestyle that seemed far ahead of its time. Suddenly, India and Pakistan were recognized as the home of one of humanity's first great urban societies. The civilization did not come into existence suddenly. It evolved gradually. Three major phases. Pre-Harappan, when small farming villages began to appear. Early Harappan, when towns started forming. And mature Harappan, the golden age when great cities like Harappa, Mohenjo-Daro, Dholavira, Kalibangan, Lofal, Banawali, and Rakhigarhi reached their full glory. What makes the Harappans truly special is their extraordinary city planning. Imagine this, 4,000 years ago, their streets were laid out in straight lines, cutting each other at right angles like a modern grid. Houses were built with standardized bricks. Every city was divided into different parts, usually a higher area called the citadel, and a larger lower town where most people lived. And in the case of Dholavira, there were three divisions, the citadel, the middle town, and the lower town. One of the most admirable features of their cities was their drainage system. Every house had its own bathroom and its own covered drain that connected to larger street drains. These drains had inspection holes, soak pits, and even stone covers. Mohenjo-Daro alone had a drainage system more efficient than many modern towns today. It shows us how deeply the Harappans cared about cleanliness, health, and public order. The Harappans were also remarkable water engineers. At Mohenjo-Daro, they constructed the world-famous Great Bath, a large tank built with waterproof materials, possibly used for public bathing or religious ceremonies. At Dholavira, they built enormous reservoirs, dams, and channels to store every drop of rainwater. 16 huge water tanks surrounded the city, making Dholavira look like a water fortress. Even Lofal had a massive brick-lined basin, believed by many to be an ancient dockyard. Apart from engineering, Harappans excelled in arts and crafts. Their pottery was beautifully painted. Their beads, made from stones like carnelian and lapis lazuli, were famous far and wide. They carved exquisite seals from steatite, usually showing animals like bulls, elephants, tigers, and the mysterious unicorn. They produced bronze figurines, the most famous being the charming dancing girl from Mohenjo-Daro, a masterpiece that captures confidence, rhythm, and grace. Although we have found many seals with short texts, the Indus script is still undeciphered. We do not yet know what language they spoke or how they wrote it. But their art, their architecture, and their everyday objects tell us that they were a peaceful, organized, and prosperous society. The Harappans were also skilled farmers, traders, and craftsmen. They traveled long distances to obtain raw materials like copper, stones, shells, and timber. Their trade reached Mesopotamia, Oman, Iran, and Central Asia. They used standardized weights and measures, showing a high level of administration and economic control. However, like all civilizations, the Harappan culture eventually declined. It did not end suddenly, but gradually. Climate change, drying rivers, floods, decline in trade, and migration may have played important roles. But even after the great cities were abandoned, many Harappan traditions continued, in crafts, in settlement patterns, in daily life, influencing later cultures of the Indian subcontinent. Ladies and gentlemen, the Harappan civilization stands as a shining example of human intelligence, creativity, and harmony. It teaches us that even thousands of years ago, people valued cleanliness, good planning, peaceful living, and sustainable use of natural resources. It reminds us that India has always been a land of innovation, culture, and advanced knowledge. As we study the Harappans today, we must not only admire their achievements, but also learn from them, especially their respect for water, their urban discipline, and their organized way of life. These lessons are just as important today as they were 4,000 years ago. Thank you.